Courtney, I understand that you have new reporting that Iran shot down a second aircraft. What do we know about that plane and the two helicopters as this search is ongoing?
Yeah, this is actually remarkable how this is unfolding. So we know about this F-15 that was hit by Iranian fire. Likely that's what the most likely reason that this aircraft went down, and taking these two U.S. airmen down with it. But during the search and rescue efforts, we've now learned that at least 3 U.S. aircraft were also struck by Iranian fire as they were trying to search for that downed F-15 and those missing airmen. That includes an A-10 Warthog. It's a close air support. That's our F-15. That's one of the aircraft that went down. An A-10 it generally will fly low. It was part of the search and rescue effort. It was hit by some sort of Iranian fire. It was able to make it into friendly airspace in Kuwait, where the pilot ejected and the A-10 crashed. But yes, that's not it. There were also 2 U.S. Black Hawk helicopters that were hit by fire. In the case of those, there were some service members who were injured. They are all safe, we are told, according to U.S. officials. But it's a remarkable turn of events that during the course of the search for this F-15, there have now been 3 other U.S. military aircraft that have been hit by it. It does underscore just how dangerous the search and rescue mission is, Yasmin.
So let's talk about the search and rescue, as you mentioned that, right? So we have 1 pilot that is rescued, 1 pilot that is still missing. In total, 4 aircraft hit, 3 of them a part of this search and rescue. What is the status of the search at this hour?
So it's still an ongoing and very active search. It's obviously dark in Iran by now with the time there. But officials tell us that they are actively searching. This is a huge undertaking. It is very urgent, Yasmin. There is real concern that Iranian officials could find this individual before the U.S. military is able to. They have their search and rescue teams, their combat search and rescue teams, and then they also have personnel recovery teams who were moved into the area in advance of this war beginning, and they are searching urgently.
So, Court, it's kind of a split-screen moment, right? Because this is happening at the same time that you have a lot of upheaval within the ranks of the Army. You broke the news last night as well that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth fired the Army Chief of Staff. But you have since heard from sources about more firings, in part because of Hegseth feuding with someone that he cannot get rid of, right? Is that abnormal to see these types of firings during this intense wartime situation that the United States is currently in?
Absolutely. It's extremely unorthodox. It's not unprecedented, but it's very unorthodox for the U.S. to be in a war and for the Secretary of Defense to fire a 4-star general, in this case, a member of the Joint Chiefs. The Army Chief of Staff, General Randy George, was fired. And what's really remarkable is that all the officials we spoke with say it has absolutely nothing to do with the ongoing conflict. And instead, it is, as you said, this old grudge that the Secretary has not only against General George because he served under Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin in the previous administration, but also it is because he has a continuing feud with the Army Secretary, Dan Driscoll. And so this is one way that the Secretary of Defense can get after the Secretary of the Army, Dan Driscoll. It's remarkable. And honestly, Yaz, the reason that this is so unorthodox is because when you have a major shakeup in the military during a time of war, it signals to an enemy a chaos or an instability or some kind of a problem in the military, and that's simply not what you want to be conveying when you're at war.
Why now, Courtney? Is there anything about the timing of these firings?
We have no idea. That's one of the questions that we've been asking, but it goes to our reporting that the Secretary of Defense is reaching down into personnel issues. Now, this is a 4-star. The Secretary of Defense would generally be involved in that. But it's not just this. He is also going to the promotion and appointment lists of 1-star generals and admirals and taking people's names off the list. It is the personnel situation at the Pentagon is unlike anything that we've ever seen, Yasmin.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.